Hello friends, I hope you liked my first lecture. In my second lecture, I'm going to continue teaching topic in continuation of the first topic. So I was covering in my first lecture. This was on demand, supply, market. I have covered. After that, I covered budget set, budget line, the formation of the budget line, how budget line changes if the income changes or suppose the prices change. So how does the budget line changes? So all that I have discussed in my previous lecture. I'm going to continue teaching you budget chapter in this, and then I'll move on to preferences chapter. So be with me. Okay, if there's any doubt, you can just post it in the comment box. Thank you. So this is my next subtopic is regarding the budget rationing. Okay, so I'll be just continuing here. So in this example, suppose there is a rationing of a particular good. Suppose, which means I have on my x-axis some food being mentioned, and there is x2 commodity, which is a composite set of all the other goods which I mentioned here. And I say that there is a budget line downward sloping just denote that for every unit of x1 additional, there is x2 unit of the commodity which is to be given up. Now if I say there is some quantity of food which is say x1 bar, which is rationed, so it means that beyond x1 you cannot consume, there does not exist consumption, so no consumption is possible beyond x1 unit of the commodity. So we want to understand how will my budget line look like. So my budget line definitely till x1 bar will look like this. So it's a clear trade-off with the slope of p minus p1 by p2, as we've discussed in the previous class as well. This is going to be the slope of the budget line till this x1 bar, but beyond x1 bar this is no longer available. This commodity is no longer available, and hence this trade-off no longer exists, and therefore the budget line beyond x1 bar is tapering off as a vertical line, and the entire budget set therefore becomes the set under these two lines which denote this area. So this becomes a budget set. Okay, so understand this thing. This is in case of rationing, when specifically I talk about a case in which a commodity, one of the commodities, say x1 here, we cannot consume. Government does not allow us to consume beyond any particular unit of the x1. So this is how my budget set will look like. Now suppose I change the case here and say beyond some x1 commodity there is a tax on consumption. So tax exists beyond x1 bar, which means the price of x1 will rise, and if price will rise, let's understand how will my budget line change. If beyond x1 the new price is p1 plus t, okay, so what becomes my new budget line? It becomes p1 plus t times x1 plus p2 times x2 less than equal to m, which means the slope of the new budget line will be minus of p1 plus t by p2. This becomes the new slope, and if I have to plot this, how will my new budget line look like? So till x1 bar it has a slope of minus p1 by p2, but beyond which the slope has increased to minus p1 plus t. So since p1 plus t is greater than p1, this slope is actually higher, and higher the slope, steeper the curve. So beyond x1 bar we have a steeper curve. This is flatter and this is relatively more steeper with a higher slope, with slope of minus p1 plus t upon p2. So since this is greater number than this, and hence the slope is higher, and so we have a flatter curve, and therefore the budget line is a flatter line till x1 bar. Beyond x1 bar it's a steeper line, and the entire area under this represents my budget set. Is it clear? I hope it's clear up till now. Now I move on to the next topic, which is on food stamps. Suppose food stamps are being given to us. So food stamps are like a subsidy given to us for food purchase. Now government proposes this food stamp in which, suppose I have here food plotted on the x-axis and the other goods plotted on the y-axis, and when there is no subsidy as such given, I have a normal budget line, in which case so my P1 x1 plus P2 x2 denotes my budget line, and I have a downward sloping budget line with slope minus P1 by P2. This is something that we have just discussed, and also in the previous lecture we have discussed this part. Suppose now food stamp is given up to a given level of food. Suppose there is some x1 bar up till which government is willing to give you subsidy, beyond which there is no subsidy. अगर subsidy है, it means till x1 bar, till some level, the trade-off between other goods and this becomes relatively easier. Means it's more cheaper, which means P1 will fall. If P1 fall, the budget line slope becomes lower. This falls, it means budget line slope becomes lower till x1 bar, which means it becomes more flatter. So it becomes flatter if suppose some less than 100% subsidy is given. We have a certain subsidy, say 80% subsidy is given to us to purchase x1 up till x1 commodity, and hence we have a trade-off in which P1 has fallen to say P1 prime, and this becomes my new slope, which is lower than P1 by P2, and hence it becomes more flatter up till x1, beyond which it becomes flatter. And the same budget line with same slope minus P1 by P2 will persist after x1 bar, and it remains parallelly shifted rightward beyond this point, because by a certain amount my entire budget set has moved ahead by the policy of the government, in which they have given us some subsidy. I hope it is clear. Now a next point in addition to it is, if I give you 100% subsidy, which means now instead of less than 100% subsidy, I plot here this is minus P1 by P2 as the slope. Now I have 100% subsidy being given up till x1 bar, means this is completely cheap, and all we have to spending though is on the other good. That means up till x1 bar commodity purchase, I can spend entire income on the other good and have x1 commodity for free, beyond which there is a trade-off again with the slope minus P1 by P2. So if there is a 100% subsidy, means it's completely cheap or completely free commodity. Food is completely available freely till x1. So this is how my new budget line will look like. It will be completely horizontal till x1 bar, and it goes parallelly rightward. It moves parallelly rightward in this direction with the same slope, because there is no change in the prices of the two commodities, and hence it remains the same with the same slope. So this completes my chapter on the budget constraint. Now I move on to the new chapter. This is on preferences. We'll understand what preferences are, what consumer preferences are, certain assumptions of the preferences, how indifference curve look like for different kinds of consumer behavior in terms of different preferences they may have for different commodities. Okay, let's understand one by one. So when I explain you preferences, by this what you understand? The simple symbol denotes preference. Means suppose I represent x this symbol to y, it means x is preferred to y. Understand this thing? If there is a strict preference, there is just this symbol. If I say x is weakly preferred to y, means it's greater than and equal to y. It represents weakly preference, whereas this represents strict preference. Certain assumptions about the preferences, keep noting down and understand at the same time. Assumptions about preferences. First assumption is that it's complete in nature. So if I'm ranking two bundles, say x and y, I say x bundle and y bundle. Given any bundle x and y, we assume x is at least as good as y1 y2, and y1 y2 is at least as good as x1 x2. So x1 x2 are the bundles with the x bundle, y1 y2 are the bundles of the y bundle. So if I am writing like this, if both the bundles can actually be compared, it means x1 x2 is as good as y1 y2, which is represented by weakly dominance of x1 x2 over y1 y2, and at the same time y1 y2 is at least as good as x1 x2, then we say the bundle are totally comparable. This is one of the assumption about the preferences, that we can compare the two bundles. Second assumption is reflexive, means a, a bundle say x1 x2 should be at least as good as itself. X1 x2 should be at least as good as itself, which is the same bundle x1 x2. So we assume any bundle is at least as good as itself. It reflects the property of preferences, the second property, which is the reflexive property. The third property, if I talk about, it is about transitivity, which means suppose there are three bundles x1 x2, y1 y2 and z1 z2. If x1 x2 is weakly preferred to y1 y2 and y1 y2 is weakly preferred to z1 z2, then by transitivity property x1 x2 is weakly preferred to z1 z2.